we're back for another testimony from High Noon, this time about the Radiant program. And I'm here with Josh,
Hello.
um, all the way from Hawaii. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. My name is Josh. I live in Hawaii. My wife is named Rika. We've been blessed for 2.5 years now. Um, we're feeling radiant. What can I say? We're feeling great.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah. So you participated in Radiant this last cycle, but then you've also participated together in the past, right?
Mm. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So maybe to start off, what inspired you to join Radiant? How did you get into the program?
You know, I think a couple reasons. Externally speaking, I like talking about sex and it's fun. And so I was like, oh, another program to talk to other newly blessed guys about, how our relationships are going. That sounds fun. That sounds great. So I just joined and I was like, Rika, you should join too. And we can talk about all the deep, intimate things that we want. Um, and that was kind of the external motivation to join. Internally speaking, um, again around sex, our relationship is fantastic in a lot of ways, and we don't really have any deep issues, and I'm very grateful for that. But I think the one area that we do struggle with is our like intimacy, um,
Mm.
and kind of building that in a positive manner. So while we enjoy talking about sex and just having fun with it, it's also a bit of a deeper like maybe there's something more to it that we need to figure out. So we wanted to join it to actually try and see how other couples are doing and just discuss things in like a really safe and healthy space.
Hey, I wanted to let you know about the Radiant program. What's the Radiant program? If you are a young blessed couple that was blessed in marriage sometime in the last few years, then this program is just for you. It is a couples intimacy program for young couples. And you can join with your spouse, you can join without your spouse. We've got group discussions and community for men and women separate. And also, we have opportunities for you and your couple to dive deeper into God's word, into the word of true parents, and learn how to experience an absolute sex relationship. So if that's you and you want to join, check out somewhere in this video, in this episode, and below, or go to highnoon.org to check it out. All right, hope to see you there.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have Did you get environments like that before? Like before joining Radiant, environments where you could talk about sexuality, like among other husbands?
Yeah, we have some friends here who are open to talking about it with us, some other couples who are like
Mhm.
good friends with. Um, but it's never like the main conversation, I guess, or it's not like the target talking point. It's more something that comes up in passing or something that I just bring up because, like I said, I like to talk about it and it's fun.
Mhm.
So we have it, but yeah, it's never like a geared conversation or anything like that. And I think we're also in a very similar place. So yeah, hearing more perspectives was something that we wanted.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did Radiant provide that space and environment that you were seeking, talking about sexuality, having dedicated
Hmm.
conversations?
In some ways it did. I think a big part of Radiant was it was more like the internal preparation for sex than the act itself, which
Mhm.
is a good thing in a sense because I think that was probably the biggest realization perhaps where we were
Mhm.
so heavily focused on the physical side of sex and stressing about why isn't it working and why isn't things just, nice and fun and good.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it was a good chance to introspect a little more on okay, there we maybe intellectually we understand there's a deeper meaning and there's a lot of like really spiritual and also just like a connective point between us that we need to have for intimacy to be strong. But Radiant was like a good space for a lot of like content that was geared around just like the true value in focusing on a lot of the internal aspects and the non-sexual aspects of sex and intimacy that are like really crucial. And I think that was a good, I don't know if eye opener is the right word, but like a really strong reminder of what a relationship is really built on.
Mhm.
And then the groups were really centered around just discussing that. And while like, I enjoyed talking about, the external aspects of sex too, and it was a nice space to bring it up. It was like a good balance of the two.
I see. Yeah. So I'm hearing it was like it brought up the importance of the internal aspect of intimacy
Yeah.
or sexuality for intimacy's sake rather than just talking about sexuality.
I mean, almost like because our relationship wasn't necessarily built on external intimacy, right? Our
Mhm.
relationship was, the matching process in general is very internally focused and not so much externally focused that it's almost harder, I don't know, in our case at least, to just, I don't know, feel externally driven. I'm not too sure, but I don't even know if that's worded right, but it it's a good reminder of like just the starting internally and moving it externally is like a very necessary kind of crucial element to sex that kind of just gets glossed over in the moment, especially.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So that's something that came up in the that came up for you through the content, like of the radiant
Mm.
calls and then conversations
Yeah,
um with the brothers.
yeah, for sure.
Other
And
young
then, yeah, just like talking to the brothers and just hearing, everyone's going through stuff in their relationships, and it's really important, like gaining perspective and kind of just understanding, like learning each other and how we're each going through our own relationships, and then just like really figuring out, like, man, we're so different, and that means our spouses are like even more different.
Mm,
And like gaining an understanding of just them um, is really important. Like having an open mind to thinking from our spouse's perspective.
yeah.
I think this is a good program for that because it talking to the other guys kind of makes you have to see from their eyes too in their relationship, and I think that's a healthy place to be.
Mm, yeah. So it creates a bit of community, I guess, of like
Mm.
young husbands, young wives. I think you mentioned, right? One learning point for you was men need men and women need women, even when we're married.
Yeah, that's another way to put it. That's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, that we don't forget it because it's we prepared for that day of the blessing like our whole
Mm.
lives. And it looks like a lot of us, we just there's the idea that we just from that point on just need our spouse and won't
Mm.
need anybody else anymore.
Yeah,
Anymore, right? But and
it's
so
oh god, that's killer. Just spending time with your spouse only, man. It's so important to spend time with other people too.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
important.
that concept. So that was great. So that's cool for you to say that you experienced that just the community of young husbands and hearing
Yeah,
uh, how healthy it is from other husbands' experiences and their relationships
yeah.
with their wives.
And I think it was a little bit harder in the beginning, but as
Mhm.
I go through, as I spent more time with the group, I think it got easier, and I just let myself try to be more open and try to listen more. And that definitely helped to, yeah, just get a better experience out of it for sure.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was one way, right? That you said impacted you. And I mean, as a young couple ourselves, it came up for us too, right? The aspect of practicing sexuality for intimacy's sake. It's a little bit like yeah, just discovering that sexuality itself doesn't necessarily foster intimacy, right? If a lot of other things and non-sexual things are missing.
Yeah.
I don't know, was that like something you meant or
Yes, I
like
think so.
mhm.
It was interesting because my group, I was the person who had the most like years in the blessing. My group was a lot younger, I guess, in their blessing life. So a lot of them hadn't even started yet. So it was almost like, oh, I really need to think of it from an internal standpoint because that's where everyone's at. So it made me start really thinking of like, okay, building intimacy from the bottom up. Um, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. How did I mean, that was one way you said. How did that impact you as a husband and your relationship as a
I
couple?
think we talked about that. Um, I think both of us in our own ways get a little bit overwhelmed with the goal of trying to satisfy the other person, and if it doesn't happen, it's a failure. Almost like a goal-oriented approach to
Mm-hmm.
sex, which was it's not really positive. I think often it leaves us in a more like in a bad mood compared to like a good mood. Um, so I think it just made us we haven't like become perfect at it in any way, shape, or form, but it made us reflect a
Hmm.
lot more on trying to not put so much emphasis on like finishing as the end goal or something like that, or just like satisfaction being the end goal, but trying to enjoy the process a bit more. Try to enjoy what does the other person like and think about that. And, you know, it doesn't need to lead to anything. It can just be more natural and just trying to allow it to be us to feel a little closer. Um, so I think that was probably a really good thing. And we're still struggling a lot in of ways at that, but I think we do talk about it more, and we're trying to be more, um, yeah, just close.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, and it's not about, yeah, perfection, right? In a couple and achieving that. It
Mm.
sounds like it's just the practice of communication, right? And a tool that you were able to kind of sharpen a little bit or
Yeah.
use a little bit more, which
Yeah,
is
man.
something that,
Communication's so much harder than you think, especially in intimacy. Oh my God. You don't know it until you're in it.
yeah.
Oh, it's important. It's key.
Well, what are some like challenges you've experienced around communication, around intimacy?
I think just knowing how to communicate effectively and like knowing what each other likes and doesn't like and kind of finding a balance with it. Like, so often, what we like to do in our intimacy is very opposite. So, like, you have to talk about that, or you're never gonna figure it out. Um, and it just takes more time than, or it's a lot harder to do than I would have thought. So, just like from the ground up, just working on communication and just working on being open and, um, yeah, just like vulnerable. And more than that is like communicating about what you need
Mm.
after you share those vulnerabilities too. I think that's like really valuable. That's what we're still working on. I think communicating what we need in our vulnerability, that's still a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really vulnerable spot to be in as a couple,
Mm,
right? Because we have the power to give each other what we want and need, but
mm,
at the same time we have the power to withhold that from each other.
it's true.
So that's, yeah, that's amazing that to practicing to communicate about touchy topics like this with each other, right?
Mm,
Where I think a lot of couples very often take a very long time to get to the point where they can
yeah,
communicate honestly about it, right? Because
yeah,
it's actually something that even in marriage or partnership, people kind of
mm,
guard from each other, right?
yeah.
To protect themselves. And
I think that's a good point too, because what's good about the group is I think often, like you said, you kind of naturally guard a little bit. I mean, as a couple, you're so close that you don't want to hurt each other either. So it's a little bit hard to open up in some ways, not every way. But when you're in a group like this, you're not necessarily like that close, so you can kind of say whatever, and it's okay, which is really good for self-reflection and to get, I think often if I was thinking of something in the week, then I would let it out in the group, and then by saying it, it kind of was a realization in my own head, like, oh, that's what I was feeling, and I finally had to verbalize it, which is good. And then I could talk to my wife about it after.
mm,
Um, So it's a good chance for that too, to just kind of anything that kind of festered up in the week, like, oh, I can let it out in a safe space. Could be a good thing, or it could be like something that my heart's a little heavy on, whatever. But there's a good chance to reflect and let it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're able to kind of practice sharing in a group of husbands where it feels perhaps a little less daunting, or there's a little
Mhm.
tension is like taken
That's a
out of
good,
it.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Less daunting, for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, there's no tension to it. It's just like let it out, like whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And chances are that other husbands can relate, right? And
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's really cool. Where do you find yourself now, having gone through Radiant
Mm,
twice,
mm,
as a couple? What's next? Like, there's some tools that you were able to kind of practice, and some community that you experienced.
mm. I think, oh, that's a good question. I think we, that brother needs brother, sister needs sister
Mhm.
concept that was brought up during Radiant. That's probably the first time I heard of that in general. I think there was a talk about it, and then it was a topic during groups and stuff. I think maybe that, making sure that we both take time to find people in our community we can talk to. Um, that was a really key thing aside from each other. Actually, even like on a side note with that, like I'm just realizing it now. I got more excited about my wife having her group call, like knowing like, oh, she gets
Mhm.
a chance to share in her groups, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say about how her group went. I'm almost more excited for that than joining my own group, and you know,
Yeah.
both were really good, but it's an interesting thing where I'm like, I'm so happy seeing her do something that's really healthy like that, and hearing about her experience and knowing she has the chance to share all these things and reflect and all that stuff. And I'm sure she probably feels in a similar manner, like wanting to know, like, oh, what did you talk about? Like, how was your call? And I think that's actually a really beautiful part of it. Like when your spouse goes through it, you can be excited to know, like, what did they do?
Mhm.
And I think that's what we took away the most is like being excited about each other's growth.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, let me know if you can resonate, because for us it was similar, right? I mean, my we were an international couple, and my wife moved to a different country, and
Yeah,
so we used to uh still spend a lot of time with each other, right? Whether
yeah.
that's in work or at home. And um so I realized, because she moved here and she got to spend a lot of time with my dude friends and
Mm.
like other men, right? But it became clear that she was like lacking her sisterhood a lot, like
Mm.
womanhood and her friends, because she didn't have that much possibility to meet them, had to make a few new friends. So as you mentioned, what I resonated to is, it was exciting to me to see that she could take time with
Mm.
other women to connect. And and we made that more of a priority. It's just like, I'm at work today, you have nothing to do, please go out, please hang out with your
Mm.
friends, please hang out with some sisters. And every time she does, she feels like she's more brimming with
Mm.
feminine energy,
Yeah,
that
that's insane.
definitely will not come from me, right?
Right.
And
It's a different kind of joy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's big. I think that's like such a key thing. Like, man, getting excited over your spouse's like happiness. It's a good feeling, and just encourage, not pushing, just encouraging and
Mhm.
supporting the chances for your spouse to do things that are good for her and having like good social relationships and like vice versa too, having her wanting me to do the similar things. Like that's really valuable.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
like doing it that we did it together. I think it's a better program done when each partner is able to do. It's still good to do on your own, circumstances are there, but
Mm.
yeah, I'm happy that we both got to go through it, like two cycles of it, and each of us was engaged.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that is cool. It provides some community, for each of the spouses if we go through it together. And then I guess up to us. And you said as well, right? It helped a lot when you, after those calls, came together and talked about the
Yeah.
learning points and what came up for you in the
Hmm.
sessions. Yeah,
I mean,
thank you, man,
sometimes it's
for
the only
sharing.
chance we have to really reflect and
Mhm.
goal set or just think about our couple, you know? Sometimes you get busy and you just forget about it. So it's like a dedicated time that we'll at least spend.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share about the group calls
Just do
program?
it, guys. Just do it. I mean, it's good for you. At least once, give it a shot. Practice talking to other people. I remember before I got blessed, I used to think whenever I had to share something difficult with somebody, the way that they would respond was, having to learn to take that, like however the response was, if it's positive or negative, like this is one aspect of my future spouse, maybe,
Mm,
that I'll learn. And I know this isn't really like future spouse. People in this program are already blessed, but just learning to share is an aspect of just being open to your spouse and like all they can be. So it's just a good opportunity, if it's sparking any aspect of interest, like it's not a big commitment. Go for it. It's fun.
yeah. Thanks for the pitch. That's
Bet
sounds
I
good.
got you.
And one last thing I wanted to pick up on is, yeah, you mentioned just communicating. You and your wife, you learn and practice more how to communicate your wants and needs, right? Because you realize they're actually really different when
Yeah.
it comes to sexuality, for example, and I bet different things, right? So,
Mhm.
has that been? Is there like a scary component, like a scary aspect in sharing your wants and needs with your partner? Does that put
I,
you in a
s-
more vulnerable?
I still
Oh,
feel awkward
mm,
sharing my wants and needs. Uh, like I don't want to push something she doesn't want to do. And that's
mm,
where it's like a communication piece because I don't, obviously I'm not going to push her to do anything she doesn't want to do. And I wouldn't even be happy if I knew she was doing something she didn't want to do. Um, but yeah, it still feels a little awkward doing that. I think that's not necessarily the best because that means there's some reservations still. So it's good to communicate those out. I think the other piece is like sometimes we just don't know what we want or need
mm.
either. So that's the only way to figure that out is by like doing and talking and just trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
It's like I think I want this. Okay, let's try. No, that wasn't it. And keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And does you experience that the communication about, yeah, wants and needs has brought you closer to each other?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure. I mean, when you get vulnerable,
Mm,
you can only get closer as long as there's an accept. No, what's the word? Like, what's the feeling? As long as you feel like that vulnerability is accepted,
mhm,
like they're receiving it, you can only get closer from that.
mm. Yeah. 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 Thanks for sharing that. I think it's a courageous thing. It's because sharing our wants and needs creates the potential of having them rejected, right, from somebody else. But only through that are we able to experience a sort of
Mm-hmm.
grace, right, or a sort of acceptance, or those wants and needs can actually be
Yeah.
fulfilled, and people, our spouse, can be more intentional about where we are at. We know where they are at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Josh, for sharing, and excited for what's coming next.
Yeah, thank you. Glad we could talk.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, and see you again for the next testimony.